leave us, presenting better days through better ways with Andrew's FFA.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming to our first ever Q&A with Andrew's FFA. Better days through better ways, even though you didn't have much of a choice.
We'd first like to start off with a little game. If everyone could please stand and finish the lyrics to the song we're going to play.
So before we get into our more serious questions, can you tell us your journey in becoming an AISD superintendent?
You bet. So to answer your question directly, I won't speak real long, but I actually spent some time here in Andrews before I got into administration. So I grew up in a family of educators. My mom and dad were both educators. My mom was a first and second grade teacher. My dad was a teacher coaching high school all over the state. And I then got into administration. So I really didn't know anything other than school growing up. I went to school, and then when I got home, my parents talked about school, and then we went to school things. So it was just kind of ingrained in what I did. I went to college. I won't tell you how long I was there because it took longer probably than most. I wasn't the most dedicated student at first, which is why I think we'll talk about that in a second. I kind of had a separation of work ethic was something you do at a job, and I didn't really take academics as serious as I should have. So, but I eventually did get out of college and then started teaching and coaching. Bounced around all over the state. Was here for a few years in the 90s and loved it. I taught in the high school before the classrooms that you're in, before they had doors on them. It was completely open to the hallway. So I know some of the teachers here may remember that, but anyway, it's pretty cool. Again, I taught and coached pretty much all over the state, bounced around all the way to as far as the Central Texas, became an administrator. I wanted to get into the level of education where I could impact more than just a classroom. And so went back to school, talk about work ethic. I was married and had kids, and that was before online school. So online education or online platforms had not really been developed. That tells how old I am. So a lot of stuff was on the weekends, so you had to drive to school, spend time away from family, and do coursework at a university to get a master's degree and such. Did that, became a principal, an elementary principal for that matter. And so I was all with the knee biters for a few years and loved it. Then moved again, became a superintendent. I've been a superintendent in various places here in the Panhandle. Then I was in South Texas on the Coastal Bend, town place called Refugio, and so loved it there. And then Andrew's job opened up, and I grew up in West Texas and had always admired and loved Andrew's. Andrew's was a place that has always been great. And so when that opportunity came, I was fortunate enough to get that job 14 years ago and been here since. And so hopefully in our time here, we've been able to pour into you guys and provide programs that meet your needs. And so I can talk more, but that's kind of, now I'm here, so yeah. All right. Give me an ad-lib, I got some jokes I could tell.
Sorry. Okay, Dr. Zom, so we brought you here today because this auditorium is full of our future leaders. We hope to equip them with some skills on becoming our next leaders. So we looked up the definition of work ethic. It is a belief that work and diligence have a moral benefit and value that strengthens character and individual abilities. How would you define work ethic in your life?
Great question. First of all, on the first thing you mentioned about leaders, I think it's fair for everyone to understand. I know we've got sophomores and freshmen in this classroom. Many of you that I talked to even when you were in junior high in that team leadership class, I told you that you will very quickly become high school students. Before you know it, you'll be a senior needing to go out into the world and either go to work or to school. So the key component there on leadership, first of all, is you are either a leader or a follower. There's no way around that. I've told many people that. You lead or you follow, depending on the group you're in. One group, you can be a follower, and that's fine. We need good followers. But you might change the group just in the next class period or at lunch, and you now become a leader. And so you have to have leadership skills. And so one of the things that's a dynamic today that maybe is more so important than it ever has been is work ethic, and that's a great definition. But work ethic can look like a lot of things, but it's getting up when you get knocked down. It's getting up, period. It's doing things when nobody else will. It's staying after it when it's no longer fun. There's lots of variations of definitions of work ethic. So for me, I think one word that kind of fits work ethic is perseverance. You're going to have to persevere. There's been things that have happened through the summer, last year, year before, that you're going to have to work through. I know you hear that a lot. You got to work through this. It's difficult. Everything that's important, if it was easy, then it wouldn't be important because everybody would do it. So if it's important to do, then it's going to require hard work to get it done. And so I know you know that, and you've probably been told that, but the biggest thing for me as far as work ethic is waking up every day and saying, I'm going to do something different than anybody else is going to do to make me better, to make me not better than them, but just I'm going to better myself. You've heard this forever, that you either improve or you fall behind. And that's a fact. Every day you either get better or you stay the same and somebody passes you up, whether it's an athletic team, whether it's an FFA group going to a convention. Every day you've got to do something that makes you better. And so whether it's studying, whether it's just going to a job, whether it's just doing things at home without being told and really freaking out your parents, right? It's just doing things every day that make you stand out. We want people to get trained, we want you to get certified in things, we want you to get degrees if that's the thing. But here's what makes a difference. And everybody that's an adult in the room will tell you this, that you can get a degree, that's great. 35 other people that are going to apply for a job that you apply for have the same degree. What is different? That's why they put references on an application, because they're going to want to call those references and say, hey, if I give this person something to do, will they do it? If I give this person something to do, will I have to check on them to see if they're doing it over and over again, right? Do I have to always watch and see if they're showing up on time or leaving early? Or taking that 15-minute break that bleeds into 20 and 25 minutes. So work ethic is doing the right thing when nobody else is looking. Work ethic is showing up every day. And those sound very simple, but I'll just tell you, I could talk all day about it, but what is a key thing that's going to separate you guys? And I think we do a decent job of instilling this in you, because when I talk to area and even statewide leaders and even employers, and they say, hey, we've got so-and-so from Andrews that works for us, and they're fantastic. And I say, well, I'll ask them, I'll say, well, what is it? And they say, you know what? They do what they tell us they're going to do, and whatever they say they'll do, they keep their word. And I could go on, but that's a long thing of work ethic is simply showing up and getting things done. And it takes effort. It takes perseverance. And so,
understanding of work ethic, commitment, and dedication.
Thank y'all for having me. All right.
Now you guys are in for a treat. Not only did we have one guest speaker, but we have two. Please welcome to the stage our Andrews County Judge, Mr. Charlie Falcon.
We're really excited about it.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, ma'am.
First, we'd like to ask, we know you're in the Air Force, so we'd like to ask what your assignment was.
Well, I went to the United States Air Force in 1987, and at that time, you went in open general. Well, you selected a job. So any of you that are planning to go to the military, maybe you've already talked to recruiters, well, I guess you're still young. Maybe the next one. But if you're starting to talk about it, you'll start selecting jobs. I want to do this, I want to do that. Well, when I went to the Air Force in 1987, I told Uncle Sam, I said, I'll go in open general, make me whatever you want. And I had no direction. I listened to Dr. Zom's with things that he was, his parents were educators, he became an educator. My life's a little bit different. So, and I'll get into that here shortly, but going into the Air Force, I told Uncle Sam, whatever you want, what do you want me to be? And he made me a military police. And I thought, I don't want to be a military police. But I got my set of orders, I looked at them, I'm like, military police? I don't want to do that. But once I started doing that, I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. This is all right. I mean, what other job do you have that you get to pull people over? You know, fun stuff. You know, some of the bad stuff. I had to sit on airplanes. You know, I got to see a B-1 bomber flying one time. I got to see the space shuttle ride piggyback on 747. I was stationed in Wichita Falls. But while I was there, I got to see these neat things. You know, all these different aircrafts. I like aircraft. And these jets, it was pretty cool to see them and so forth. But the real cool thing was being police number 3 or number 4 on Friday and Saturday nights. Because police 3 and police 4 were the zones where the Airmen's Club was. Guess what happens at the Airmen's Club? When you have the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, and the Marines together. What do you think happens? Well, alcohol, yeah, but... Okay, alcohol leads to this. What do you think that is? They party, and then they get into fights. And then we used to go in there to break up fights, and that was the coolest thing. Where else could you have a job to get to hit somebody and not get in trouble? I mean, hit somebody with a baton, and this may be a little violent, Dr. Zom, I hope I don't change the vote here at the school. But you'd roll them over, arrest them, and go get another one. And that was a lot of fun. I thought it was pretty cool. I don't do it anymore, but I thought that was pretty cool. So I used to be a military police, and had a great time. Sorry.
You're good. What was your rank when you retired?
Well, I didn't retire. I only spent 4 years and like 9 months in there. I went in 1987.
And walked up and asked the question, he was super polite and just said yes or no, sir. I'm gonna tell you right now, saying yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes or no, sir, when you walk in the building, I'll sometimes stand in the hallway and watch how a candidate treats the people in the office. Because a lot of times, if you're coming to interview for him or me, and they know that we may have the final decision, everybody's nice to us. How are they to the person who opened the door? How are you to the person who's not going to hire you? That tells me a boatload. And I'll say this too, because I've just been doing this a long time. It's the reason.
What is the